So we are at Wits University on Yale Road. Yale Road leading up leads to a line, an invisible line called the watershed, at which point the water that's at that point either rolls off into one ocean or the other. And I was interested in saying, how do we as human beings try to manipulate nature? How do we experiment with trying to move water against its grain? So, it's flowing one direction, I'm moving against the flow, I'm moving against the watershed, and try to get it to the other side. And I'm not doing that only to talk about water, I'm talking also about the institution, I guess. How do we as an individual try to change the bigger problem or the bigger concerns within an institution? Or how do we change something about our country? How do we change something about the condition that we're living in? And so I've been doing this kind of work for many years, trying to affect change in a small way in my context, trying to see what value I can add to my environment. And it always feels futile, it feels pathetic, it feels like I won't get anywhere. And so this performance for me is a kind of representation of that process. By pushing this ball of water up the hill, trying to make it to the top, the ball popping, it's leaking, the water runs back down right over my legs, I fall over the ball, I struggle with it, I pull it, I drag it, I carry it, I'm trying to carry the water up the hill, and eventually I collapse in tears, and I'm so thirsty and so sore that I drink the last bit of water that's left in the bowl, totally denying the very act why I did it in the first place, is to get the water to the other side. And so for me, symbolically, I wanted to experience what that's like physically. I wanted to make a statement to the people that were part of this program, so that they could maybe, through my visual representation and through my action, understand that frustration that I think most people here do understand it, but I wanted them to kind of witness it in someone else. What was important for me as well, and Christo Doherty brought this to the project, was to also stream live my activities that weren't happening inside the festival or inside this meeting of people, but on the outside, while you were having your cocktails and your little snacks after your keynote address, someone else was busy trying to push a ball up the hill physically. I wanted to kind of make that connection, and the stream was very important for me because the live stream meant that you could both be enjoying your beverage while someone else was trying to do something for him very meaningful. And so that for me was an interesting contrast and hopefully a provocation of some kind. As I was going through the process initially, I had these ideas of I'm going to go into a kind of a meditation, I'm going to watch the water moving, I'm going to see how I can massage the water up the hill. I had a very romantic idea of doing this performance. And then when I realized how heavy it was, and after the first 10 meters already on an incline like this, I could feel my back was starting to hurt, my arms were starting to hurt, and it became very physical. And I started to fight with the water a bit. Every time I pushed it up, it came back at me with double the force. And that relationship to nature is quite a difficult one. We think we can control it. And so in my mind, I was starting to think about it was that frustration. And so I was very sore, frustrated, angry, brought in a lot of emotions. And when I got to the top, which was interesting, by that point I managed to lift the ball because it was deflated, and the water that was left, I kind of carried it up. And I just had this last bit of water, and I was so kind of thirsty and tired and everything. I just poured the last bit of water over my head, and I lay down and I actually used the balloon to go over my body. And I was then just lying like a shelter, like in a cocoon. I just wanted to escape the world and just like sleep. I wanted to disappear. And then I realized that I couldn't stay there forever, that I had to go home eventually, and my home would be at the bottom of the hill again. So I decided to follow the water trail all the way down, and that was when the emotions came. So going back down, I thought about what I'd done, and I relived my emotional responses and my dialogue with this water by watching it when I dragged this thing back all the way down Yale Road, back to where I started. And I had a few very emotional moments, and I think that's where other things came through. And it's not just about our relationship to nature, it's not about our relationship to who we kind of, the big challenges we have, but it's everyday challenges. It's how do I as a person deal with my kind of confrontations that I have with something, or my inability to deliver on something, or my anxiety about who I am, or my questions of politics, of race, of gender, of, all of those things that surround us. And that's what I ended up thinking about going down, was how this was symbolic. Emotionally, it was symbolic for the bigger challenges that I have in my life, and that I'm never going to solve them. I can ask 1,000 questions. We just had a conference where we asked questions about who we are as human beings in this debate of politics, capitalism, mining, environment, and none of us have the answer. And we could be very scared by that. And I think that emotion is what followed me all the way down, that fear. And it was important to do for me. It was a very cathartic experience.